All right. So you're probably been using OpenClaw or thinking about using it. You're just trying to learn more. So today I'm going to talk about subagents versus OpenClaw instances. That way you can build a good architecture for your own AI employees, for your own OpenClaw team, whatever you want to call them. So first off, who am I? I'm Trent Loera. I'm a six-figure business owner in terms of annual revenue. We've crossed the $1 million mark in my own business over the past 3 years. I'm also a computer science major. So when I'm talking about this stuff, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not some vibe coder. I actually went through the actual programming process. I know how to program by hand. I know how the code works and how the machine actually speaks at a machine level. So with that being said, let's dive into it. So what a lot of people don't understand is how like OpenClaw works in the first place. I think one of the best things you can just do, like this is the best thing about OpenClaw and AI, is like you can just literally talk to it. I love what I'll just steal his words. Peter Steinberg, the founder of OpenClaw, says. He's like, you have this infinitely patient machine that knows basically everything that you can ask any question to. So if you have questions about this, go ask your OpenClaw or go ask AI. It'll tell you even more than probably I know, to be fair. And I've learned a lot of this stuff from talking to my own OpenClaw. So with that being said, essentially the way that it works is that you have subagents and you have OpenClaw instances. And a lot of people get this stuff mixed up or they aren't using it properly. And I think that, obviously that can be a big mistake because you have to understand that at the end of the day, what OpenClaw is, and to be fair, it's a great thing, is that it is just tying a bunch of little tools that have been around forever. And the main thing of that is the model itself. Obviously, at this point, as I'm recording this, you've got Claude Opus 4.6, which is the big Claude model that they just recently came out with, I believe, like 2 weeks ago. You've got Codex 5.3, which is OpenAI's, and you got Gemini, which I think Gemini's on Pro like 3.3 or 3. I don't even know because I don't use Gemini too much. So those are like the bigger models, and you got Flash, and you've got Haiku and Sonnet and all that kind of stuff as well. And obviously you've got Kimi, you've got Minimax as well, and all that fun stuff. Anyway, my point here is that these models obviously are the same models that you're using on an LLM. When you log into Claude, you're using the same thing if you use Opus 4.6 with your OpenClaw. And what these models have is what they call a context window. Maybe you've probably kind of learned about this a little bit because probably some of you guys have hit it where it'll say like context too large, can't do this, and you have to start a new session or something like that. So for example, Opus 4.6's context window is 1 million tokens. Now those tokens can be a lot of different things. Essentially, it can be sometimes like word. It usually what it is that the model itself tokenizes. I'll try not to get too technical, but it essentially just breaks up the prompt into bits to be able to actually understand and read the prompt. There's some very interesting stuff you can go about that and how models work. But anyway, that's what context is. And so these models do not have unlimited context because they would not be able to read the full context and understand things properly. And eventually, like, for example, you get to a 10 million context or you could upload 10 million context, which would be a lot, into a 1 million model, but it would only be able to read 1 million of those, of those tokens, essentially. What that means is that you start to lose some context, you start to lose some brain power, memory, because these context windows aren't large enough. And so the whole point here is that there's only so much you can do with a model, with one context. And so these subagents, these OpenClaw instances, why you want to have multiple of them is because like you may just have like your one OpenClaw instance that you're talking to in Telegram or WhatsApp or Slack or just in the gateway on your computer. But you're probably running into the same issues that I was at first too. They won't remember certain things, or they do tasks poorly that you've trained them to do in the past, or that you've uploaded information to do in the past. That's all because these context windows and that these models are not designed to handle that much data, because these open claws can make these huge workspaces, these huge memory files, but it has a hard time navigating it all and navigating the skills correctly. And so why you want subagents and why you want OpenClaw instances and why you're using them in the first place is so that way you can break certain skills or certain tasks or certain things into little bits. So that way, hey, when you want, let's say for marketing, you want this OpenClaw to write an email, cool. This is a marketing OpenClaw that knows exactly what you need and spins up a subagent that writes emails because it has that skill. Simple as that. So that way it's within that context. It can load everything that it needs and go and accomplish that skill because that's what it's specialized in, right? It's the whole idea of specialist versus generalist, just taken down to AI. For example, like you probably don't have any employees right now that actually work in your business that are generalists that do everything for you. You're probably the only one because you're special. But even then, like when you're doing everything, you don't accomplish as much as if you were a specialist. The same thing works for OpenClaw. It's no different. They have a brain that can only hold so much information. Otherwise, it just starts to get kind of scrambled to some extent. So with that being said, the way that I like to think through things, so I'll just show you my kind of rough structure right now. So I basically have Robert. He's my manager bot. He's the one that I upload a lot of things into and I've talked to most of the time. So he has the most context. I then have a content bot, an ops bot, and a sales bot. And so within each of these bots, I then have subagents. So for the content bot, I have a subagent that writes emails. For the content bot, I have a subagent that writes tweets. I have a subagent that writes short form video scripts. So does thumbnail design. So it's able to do all of these things. And for example, if for some reason my output was so large, I could just build another instance that would accomplish that goal. But the subagents usually make sense. And you can generally run about 5 to 8 subagents successfully within one bot. So it allows me to do that with the certain things that I have. And that makes much more sense. I mean, if you think about it again, it's just using human management principles with AI. It's cool. Okay, I've got a manager bot that will tell the other bots what to do. And then within those bots, they have certain skills that are trained to do. And that is where the subagents are. Now you could have, for example, where like some people go wrong is they'll have like these bots be subagents. And that doesn't work because it's too much context for a subagent. Because again, they're just one instance, and usually like it's only going to run when told to, and you can spin it up every once in a while, but it's just not going to build the same kind of memory that it can in its own OpenClaw instance. And on top of that, you can just much more directly tell the content bot to do things and successfully do it than having it all within one bot. So that would be my suggestion for you there. Again, it's something that I think is really cool, and we'll continue to learn more about it as everybody works with it. And obviously the machine itself continues to learn better things as well. So just kind of the structure that I'm using so far, I think there's a lot of things I could do with this. I think that, obviously you could break this up into all kinds of things as well. You could build, it just really becomes that the possibilities are endless. And this is just a good structure to use as you continue using OpenClaw, as you continue developing your AI employee chart as you will. And so just a kind of example and some stuff that I've been thinking through. Hopefully it's been helpful. And if you like this, be sure to subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have any questions or anything in there.